Okay, so let's be real. How many of those New Year's resolutions do we actually end up keeping?
Yeah, not many for me.
I feel that turns out there's like a whole science behind actually sticking to those goals. And it's not
Yeah.
about, willpower or anything like that.
hmm
Today, we're going deep into how habits actually form and how tiny changes can make a really big difference. And to help us understand all of this, we have our expert who's been studying this for years.
Yeah, those little changes that we make in our routines can actually make a big difference. It's like building a house. You don't start with the roof, you lay a solid foundation first.
Okay, I like that. So before we get all metaphorical and start building our habit houses, can we talk about why those big resolutions we make just seem to fall apart?
Well, think about those experiments with rats in a maze. They basically learn how to go through the maze because they know there's a chocolate reward at the end. It's like that anticipation that wires the habit into their brains.
So you're comparing our brains to tiny rats who want chocolate.
Kind of, but it's the same idea. We form habits in a loop. There's a cue, then a routine, and then a reward. The problem is, with those big resolutions we make, we're focused on the end result, like losing weight, but not on why we have the habits we do in the first place.
So instead of like forcing ourselves to diet,
Yeah.
we need to figure out why we snack late at night.
Exactly. And that's where tiny habits come in. The idea is to make the new habit so easy that there's no reason not to do it.
So does that mean I can finally stop procrastinating if I just open a document instead of staring at my to-do list?
Yeah, you're getting it. BJ Fogg, he has this story about a guy who wanted to floss more. He started by just flossing one tooth.
Only one tooth.
Yeah, that's the whole point. It's so easy that there's no excuse. And guess what? That one tooth led to him flossing his whole mouth without even thinking about
Okay, that's actually pretty smart.
it.
But starting small is one thing. How do we keep going when our motivation just disappears?
Right. Motivation can be unreliable, but we don't have to rely on just that. We can actually change our surroundings to make new habits stick.
Wait, so we should change our environment to help us build habits.
Think about it. If you want to read more, don't just leave a book on your table. Put it on your pillow so it's the first thing you see when you wake up.
That's actually a good idea. So basically make it easy to do the right thing.
Exactly. And another important thing is celebration. Even a small celebration when you do something good reinforces that behavior in your brain.
So I should throw a party every time I floss one tooth.
Maybe not a party. But even acknowledging that you did something good sends a message to your brain to do it again.
I'm starting to see how this works. It's like we're rewiring our brains to do good things one small step at a time.
And the best part, these small changes can make you think and feel differently too.
Before we get too excited, though, what about those times when even the smallest habits feel really hard?
You're right, we can't control everything, but it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. And that's where having support from people around us comes in.
So we should ask our friends and family to cheer us on.
It's more than just cheering Duhigg. He talks about the power of weak ties. Even people you don't know that well can influence what you do. He uses the example of the Freedom Summer movement, where students were more likely to participate if their friends expected them to.
So like a little pressure from people we know can be a good thing.
Exactly. Having support, even if it's just one person, can be really motivating. And it makes you feel accountable too.
So it's like we're not alone in this. We're building a whole system of support.
Yeah, and that brings up something important about changing behavior. We should always be kind to ourselves and others.
Yeah, guilt and shame don't really work.
No, they don't. And everyone's different. What works for one person might not work for another.
No one solution fits all.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and trying things out, and celebrating even the small wins along the way. And remember, if you mess up, you can always try again.
That's so important to remember. We're always learning.
Exactly. Sometimes making mistakes can help you figure out what to do better next time.
I'm feeling pretty good about achieving my goals now. But can we step back for a second and think about what this all means for someone who's trying to make those New Year's resolutions actually happen?
That's a really good question. And that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to look at how all of this works in real life.
Sounds like we're about to get into the details. Can't wait.
Me neither. This is going to be good. So are you ready to actually use these tiny habit ideas? Let's look at some common New Year's resolutions.
Okay, yeah. I think we've all been there. We set big goals, but then they don't last very long.
Exactly. Let's start with getting in shape. Instead of saying you'll go to the gym 5 days a week, which can be too much, what if you started really small?
Like doing one push-up every morning.
Yeah, something like that. The idea is to make it so easy that you have no excuse. And you mentioned you have a busy schedule, so what if you did those push-ups while you brush your teeth?
That's a good idea. I could definitely do that.
And don't forget to celebrate that little win. It'll make you want to do it again.
Okay, so what about those resolutions where you're trying to stop a bad habit? Those seem harder.
Yeah, they can be. Let's say you want to spend less time on your phone. Instead of trying to stop completely, try setting a specific time to put your phone away, like an hour before bed.
That's a good idea. I spend way too much time on my phone before bed. But wouldn't I need a lot of willpower to do that?
That's where changing your environment helps. Make it harder to use those apps by moving them off your home screen or even using an app blocker.
Oh, I like that idea.
We're basically making it easier for ourselves to make good choices.
Okay, this is making sense. What about eating healthier?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Instead of changing everything you eat, try just one small thing, like adding some vegetables to your dinner.
Okay, that seems doable.
Huh.
But what about cravings for sugary snacks?
Right. Remember those rats in the maze? They wanted that chocolate. We need to find healthy snacks that we actually like.
So instead of chips, I could have almonds or some fruit.
Yeah, exactly. Find healthy snacks that you enjoy.
I'm feeling more motivated already, but I'm not sure about the whole celebrating thing. Does that really matter?
It might seem silly, but celebrating even small wins makes your brain feel good. It releases dopamine, which makes you want to do that good thing again.
So like a little reward for myself.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be big. It could just be saying good job to yourself or enjoying that feeling of accomplishment.
Okay, I'll try it. What about when we mess up?
It happens to everyone. The important thing is to not give up. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about getting better.
So instead of getting upset, we should learn from our mistakes.
Exactly. Try to figure out why it happened. Were you stressed? Did you not plan ahead? Then you can make changes for next time.
I like this tiny habits idea. It feels like we're in control of our choices.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Remember how Duhigg talked about the power of social habits?
Right, we talked about how even people we don't know well can influence us.
Exactly. So having friends, family, or even online groups who support you can make a big difference.
It's like having a team cheering you on.
Yeah, and even small things, like a friend asking how you're doing, can really help.
This reminds me of Sukumar, the guy from Fogg's book, who lost weight and started running marathons. He didn't start by running a marathon, right?
No, he started with 2 push-ups after brushing his teeth. Small things done consistently led to bigger changes. He started enjoying it and got amazing results.
That's inspiring. It shows that small choices can lead to big changes.
And that's what's great about tiny habits. You don't have to change everything at once. Just take small steps, celebrate the good things, learn from mistakes, and build a life that you love.
I'm feeling really good about reaching my goals now,
Yeah.
but I'm still curious about those ethical things you mentioned before.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. It's important to be kind to ourselves and others when we're trying to change.
So no more being mean to ourselves.
Exactly. Everyone's different, and there's no right way to do this.
I think that's a really good point.
And remember, changing our behavior isn't just about reaching goals. It's also about growing, learning, and being kind to ourselves.
It's about creating a life that feels good and has meaning.
Exactly. And that's something we can all work towards no matter what our goals are.
We've talked about, the science behind habits and starting small and celebrating those wins. But before we finish up, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the bigger picture.
That's a good question. It's easy to just focus on our own goals, but our habits, they affect other people too.
Oh, interesting. Can you explain that a bit more?
Remember Sukumar and the 2 push-ups? They helped him get in shape, but they also inspired his friends and family to start moving more too. So his small habit made a difference for other people.
Wow, so it's not just about us, it's about making things better for everyone.
Exactly. And it goes even further than that. Duhigg, he talks about how habits can shape whole organizations, even societies. Like how Target figured out which customers were pregnant based on what they were buying.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it sounds kind of strange. But the point is, our habits show who we are and what's important to us. And when we understand those patterns, we can make systems that help people make good choices.
So it's like we're all connected by our habits.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty amazing. And it shows how important it is to pay attention to our habits, both the good and the bad, because even small things can have a big impact.
This whole conversation has been really interesting. We've learned so much about habits. But for someone who's listening and feels overwhelmed, what's the most important thing to remember?
I think it's this. Start small. Celebrate your wins and be kind to yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's about growing and changing.
That's a great message. And a great way to end our deep dive.
I agree. Remember, you can make positive changes even with small steps. And those small changes can make the world a better place.
So let's forget those big resolutions and focus on the small things. Start small. Celebrate your wins, and you've got this.